Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is today I'm going to be talking about KTOV Pharma. Last update I had was around the 23rd, somewhere around here, and then we did see a jump afterwards after mentioning a pullback, which is an amazing way to be here. Now I'm going to be giving first an insight into the 1 day intervals, and then I'm going to go through the 1 hour, as the 1 hour seems to be somewhat of bullish, and I'll explain why. So taking a quick look here, we can see that the stock has received some kind of pullback from the day before, and it is more a little going towards the neutral side, still overbought from a 1 day perspective. Going into momentum, the momentum has received a pullback, but still seems to be a little bit too high. Average directional index is very strong, and it shows a good movement in the green. And then you got the 10 SMA being above the 30 MA, which is amazing. So now let's try to look at the 5 days, 1 hour interval here to try to figure out the movement here. So we can see, first of all, the MACD is currently negative, and it might actually go on towards the positive side. So we're seeing something very similar to what we saw here, which is a good view to be in, as it seems that the negative impact is actually declining and it's turning in more towards the positive. We can see that the stock is more around the neutral during the day, a little bit towards overbought, but that's fine. We can see that in the after hours that it turned a little bit sloppy, but that is to be expected from the after hours. Still in the movement of perhaps starting a new trend, but it's still the 1 day we're still seeing an uptrend with high highs and high lows, so that's still good movement. Now we can see that the stock is trading above the trading action zone between 116 and 113, so that's good. Reversals are likely once if it hits back down there. So we're gonna go look into a bunch of things here. First, the supports and resistances, and going to the trend line, and then going to Fibonacci retracements. So the current support is sitting somewhere here around, say, so the current resistance is 122, so it's hovering around there, and we're seeing the current support being somewhere around 108, 103, 108. So that's the kind of range of what we're looking at. Looking into the moving average, we can see that it has broken that moving average and is moving forward for quite a bit. So the moving average might not be sufficient for at least this movement for at least a while. We can see here that it has broken it quite a bit for a while before the moving average catches up. Going towards the trend line, let's draw one quickly here towards the 1 month, 1 day. The trend line I would imagine looks something similar to this. Let's look into the 1 month, 1 hour period here, and we get to see that we can actually move it just a little bit closer to around here. Perfect. So if the stock does drop in terms of price, we're probably here looking at somewhere around still above $1 for at least a short term here. So there's still good support for this stock. Now we've seen it drop quite a bit before, but it received a healthy pullback where it jumped later on, especially since I'll mention a little bit of the presentation in the news in a second here. Taking a quick into Fibonacci retracements, we get to see the current sitting supports and resistances. As I said, not below $1, so there is a support here around 102. If you remember, the previous support from the charts was 103, so that confirms 102, 103 is a good support that I don't see it fall underneath. And you can see that it has tested it almost, well, 2 times here. It has tested it in the last 2 days. Now the current support, I would say, is around 119 to 122. So that's a range, and as well as confirmed by the Fibonacci retracements, as it tested it once here, and once here, and it's currently testing that support. So let's take a quick look into the current news that the stock is showing here. So first of all, the news that it has seen in the recent days, that it had for one of their FDA approvals, that does show to be a pretty good advancement to be in. So taking a quick look here, we get to see this phase here has actually been approved, so that's good news for me. Now, what's the next catalyst would be anything related to the clinical study. That's in pretty good hold for a bit now, especially since their CM24 is actually hitting in at Q3, and seeing as Q2 has hit almost somewhere in the middle, or a little bit towards the end of Q2. Q3 might have as well good news, so this might be a little bit of a difference in the company. Now, one thing that I've noticed in the company is it has different operations in US, China, and South Korea, which is pretty good. My only concern is their smaller size and their higher float. So it has, well, the float is not too high. It's around 33 million in terms of float. Market cap is around 50 million. And their average is around 13 million off 30 million in the last 3 months. So that's pretty good news. Institution holds around 28%. So all in all, it's all right. They're expecting around 28 to 36 million in terms of revenue in 2020 to 2022, which is also a good news in terms for this stock. So it seems to be that this stock as well is going to be seeing an initiation for another study in Q4. So we might see this one a little bit again as well and later on. So what I'm expecting from this stock to do is perhaps it can correct itself just a little in the pre-market and early on in the morning before it possibly sees another run. The graphs show that it is bullish. There's not much news here other than technical news and a little bit going through the trial details. So I'm not going to go through that, but that's been my own DD. So for myself, I would try to get it somewhere around 102, 103 at a support, as I would love to buy a little bit closer to a support, especially not really close to the all-time high for the last month or so. That's been my only DD. Make sure to comment down below with what your thoughts is about this stock. Share, subscribe, and like. Have a wonderful day.